The new year's upon us, and you've probably set a few resolutions for yourself, but have you set family resolutions as well? The family unit is dynamic, and positive changes for one member can have a huge impact on the whole. So family New Year's resolutions deserve extra attention. Hey, amazing parents, I'm Dr. Lindsay, a psychologist and mom of four, and your guide to parenting with intention and confidence. Today, I'll walk you through 3 steps to help make sure that this is your family's best year yet. This process works fabulously for young children and old. Stick around until closer to the end and I'll share with you my family's goals for the year. Step number 1, commit to setting family New Year's resolutions this year. So before you commit, you've got to understand, why would you even want to set a family resolution? So let's just talk about resolutions in general. They're a powerful tool for personal growth and improvement. So as the head or co-head of your family, it's a powerful tool for you to share with the rest of your family. Resolutions help with things like having a focus on self-improvement and well-being, increasing motivation and accountability, and maintaining a positive mindset and a sense of purpose. Setting resolutions as a family unites the family with a goal of personal growth and overall family well-being, encourages open communication, and sets a positive example. So I hope you're convinced that setting a family New Year's resolution is worth it. Now, if you're ready to commit to a family New Year's resolution, then you're ready to move on to step 2, deciding what areas of your family's routines or dynamics are in need of change. So family resolutions can be specific to an individual family member, or they can apply to the whole family, and they can play a huge role in setting this up to be your best year yet. So what kind of things can be family resolutions? There's a huge range of options. It could be trying something new, like a hobby or a sport. It could be making sure that certain projects get done around the home or in the garden. It could be doing activities together. Maybe you want to do more travel, or you want to attend more local sporting events. It could be behavioral. Maybe you have a child who's having a real issue with tantrums, or maybe you're having children who are having trouble keeping up with their chores, whatever you have expected of them around the house. It could be educational. Maybe there's a deficit that one of your children is working on, like maybe they really need some improvement in their handwriting, or it could be goal related, like maybe I have a young child and I just really want to make sure that they get a head start on reading and do what we can to make sure they're an early reader. The list is endless. I'd love to hear what you decide for your family New Year's resolutions in the comments. Now, one thing I love to mention to parents at this step is the value of a family meeting. I love family meetings as an organized, purposeful, intentional way to communicate with the family. And it doesn't have to be anything overly formal. It shouldn't be stressful. It's a way to just bring everybody together with an intention, and it should be a specific intention. So the singular intention for this meeting would be deciding what our family New Year's resolution should be. Now, if you're not familiar with family meetings, if this concept isn't one that you've used before, I have a free guide that you might want to take a peek at. It's called How to Hold a Successful Family Meeting, and it'll walk you through all the steps to make sure that your next family meeting is a success. You can find that at drlindsayemmerson.com/meeting. I'll pop that link in the description below for you as well. Now, once you have decided as a family what you want to focus on in the year to come, you're ready for step 3. So step 3 is how to set yourself up for success so that you can actually meet those goals, so that that resolution is not just some glimmering light at the end of a tunnel, but something that you are working towards steadily and will accomplish. We don't want any of those New Year's resolutions that last for 2 days and then are history, right? So how can you set yourself up for success? This is what I want to focus on in today's lesson. We're going to talk about SMART goals. So have you ever heard of a SMART goal before? It's an acronym. So we're going to set up here SMART goals. So resolutions should really be thought of more as goals. These are things that we're going to work towards. It's a goal, and in this case, you have a whole year to work on it, but some of your goals may be more proximal, something that you want to be actually resolved much quicker than the year to come. Okay, so SMART goals are something that I used in my work as a psychologist, and I use with my own family now. The first step, S, is specific. So specific Your goals should be clear, and you want to state what will be done and who will do it. So which family members are specifically involved. Your goals should be measurable. So the goal should include how progress will be measured. You need to know when you've made progress towards reaching the goal. Your goals should also be achievable. So the goal should be possible to achieve. It shouldn't be, I want to win the lottery this year. That would be lovely, but we can't guarantee that's going to happen. So it's not achievable. Your goal should be relevant. So relevant means that the goal should be aligned with the overall objectives, and you consider your bigger picture. So if your overall objective is to have a family that all gets along well and enjoys spending time together while also raising your kids to be reasonable and conscientious and independent and resilient and all those things that we want for our kids, that's the bigger picture. Now, maybe your goal is to raise kids who are superstars. So that's going to be a different big picture, right? When I think about raising the Jackson 5, their big picture is going to look a little different than my big picture. That might be focused more on success-oriented milestones as opposed to more emotional and bonding-oriented milestones. So think about your big picture and what your big picture for your family is. And this might be projecting forward 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What does it look like to spend time with your family? What's the big picture? Now, your goals should also be time-bound. Okay, so the goal should have a realistic deadline. So if I want my family to become superstars by next month, that might be pushing it. But if I say, well, I want my family to enter in our first group competition by November, that seems much more reasonable. Again, that's not a goal of mine, but you never know. If that's your goal, keep it reasonable and time-bound. Okay, so now let's go on to some examples. So example 1 is going to be with a young child. So you have a young child, maybe even as young as 6 months, and you want your child to start swimming. That was a goal that we had for our children when we were young. We were around water frequently, and we really wanted to make sure that they were competent swimmers as early as possible. So depending on the age, the goal may be established more by the parents or by the whole family with an older child's involvement. So in our case, we started our kids swimming at age 6 months, and so they were not involved in the decision. But let's say you have a 2-year-old and you're going to spend some time on a family vacation near the ocean next summer. And so you want to get your child comfortable in water and safe enough that you guys can go in the ocean and have fun and not worry about anything. And so you're going to talk to your 2-year-old, and you can phrase things in a way to help motivate them to want to swim as well so that their goals align with your goals. But you're getting your child involved. You're getting them in on making the plan. They're part of the decision-making process. So let's talk about how the swimming goal can be a SMART goal. So I want to teach my child to swim. That's a little bit too broad, too vague for you making a SMART goal. So we want to be more specific. I want my child to be a competent enough swimmer that if they fall off the dock when we go to our family lake house, they can swim back to the edge of the dock or to shore and safely get out. That's my goal. That will make me feel so much more at peace when I'm at the lake house on our family vacation. That's a specific goal. Measurable. How would you measure that? Well, when we get practice swimming, we would get to a point where we felt like he could handle that, and we would say, okay, now we're going to toss you in. You swim back to the edge. And that's what you would do. You would toss your child in as though they suddenly fell off the dock, and they would swim back to the edge. Now, this doesn't have to be some sort of horrific, traumatic event. If you make swimming a fun thing, which we did for our kids, they loved swimming, then they're very competent going underwater, they're comfortable, they love it. I have pictures of my kids smiling ear to ear as like 6-month-old, 12-month-old, 18-month-old swimming. So come 18 months, our kids were jumping off the side of the pool, turning around and swimming back to the edge. And that was a very measurable outcome. So whether you're tossing them or they're jumping, the concept is it's mimicking that motion of falling off the dock and swimming back to the edge safely. Achievable. So is that something that can actually be achieved? Absolutely. Kids are remarkably good swimmers. So you can teach them to swim back to the edge. You can teach them to roll over to their backs and do with some back breathing. So many good ways to keep kids safe in water. Relevant. So is swimming relevant to our overall family goals? Yes, we love the lake house. We go every year. It's part of our family traditions. It's really important for our kids to know how to swim. And finally, time bound. So for us, setting that goal of teaching our children to be safe in the water and be able to swim from falling into the dock and coming back to the edge, that's something that you could do in a year. You would want to give yourself time, but if you start with a 6-month-old, by 18 months, you can have a child who's so comfortable in the water that they're jumping off the edge and swimming back, and you can have your relaxing lake vacation. So that's the SMART steps applied to swimming, and a goal where perhaps it starts out more as the parents initiating the plan, but even by 18 months, your child can be in on the plan, and you can talk through, when we go to the lake house, every now and then people fall off the dock, and sometimes it can surprise you. We want to make sure that you know what you're going to do if you fall in the water, and make sure you know how to come around to the edge of the dock and that you'll be safe, even if we're not right next to you. Of course, we would be right next to an 18-month-old, but this came in super handy as the kids got older and were able to be down by the dock a little more independently. We could feel safe that if they were to fall in, that they would be able to get themselves out again. Of course, all of our children have at some point fallen in. Accidents happen. You just have to plan ahead for them. Anyway, let's move on to a second example. So let's talk about an elementary school aged child and this concept of emotional intelligence. So this is actually a current goal for our family, one of our New Year's resolutions for this year, specifically with my 9-year-old. Now, if you're not familiar with emotional intelligence, this is a set of skills that helps children understand and manage their emotions and interact with others in a healthy and successful manner. It's in contrast to traditional intelligence, which relates to things like verbal comprehension and perceptual reasoning and working memory and processing speed. These are all important things, but emotional intelligence is just as important as traditional intelligence. You really need both to thrive. So my 9-year-old is doing some things that you may be familiar with in your kids, saying things like, "Aww," whenever he gets disappointing news, and just reacting to things with disappointment, or "Fine, I get it. You don't have to tell me a million times," when I'm actually in the middle of my first explanation, but he's disappointed by the outcome. Or just overreacted to things like, "This is the worst biking trip ever." These are things that have happened within the last couple of days. So I'm guessing some of these reactions sound familiar to you from your own parenting experience, either recently or in the past, or time you've spent with other kids. Now, what we're experiencing is a little bit of a regression, which is seen sometimes before somebody has a big change, like a developmental milestone's coming on. Maybe they're about to have a growth spurt. It can also happen when there are changes in your family dynamics, or when there's a big transition that either is about to happen or just happened, like maybe you're moving or switching schools. So a lot of different things can affect one's ability to manage their emotions well. And age, as just a prerequisite, makes it a little harder for kids, 9-year-olds, to manage their emotions. They just haven't yet fully developed their prefrontal cortex, which will help a lot with managing these big emotions, helping with things like inhibition and problem solving and patience, all these things that we'll need later on. So anyway, hopefully it will resolve on its own, but it's a bit of a sore point right now. And so some of the family members, including me, are feeling like we need to really address this point a little bit more with him right now. So we'd like to target this behavior for improvement. Now, in my parenting membership, I have a huge lesson on where I teach parents strategies to help improve their children's coping skills, which is really boasting this concept of emotional intelligence. So I know what to start doing on my end, but this regression has prompted me to create a new handout for the Amazing Parents Club membership, which is a visual of different coping skills for parents to post for their kids to see. So not only are parents working from their end depend on what should I teach my child, but we're actively providing visuals for children. And so my 9-year-old is very much ready for this handout. So we're going to make this an active family process of identifying this as an issue, providing him with skills that he can help use to increase his emotional intelligence, and then we're going to support him and monitor the progress together. And so even though the behavior is really focused on one person, it will benefit the whole family because we all hear the "aw," we all hear that. So how do we make this a SMART goal? You want to be specific. So reacting in a negative way when encountering disappointment. That's our issue. We want to specifically learn how to react in a more neutral to positive way when disappointment is encountered. Measurable. So what I would like to see at his age is not perfection. That's an unrealistic outcome, but I would like to see that no more than twice a day are we having very strong reactions to negative news, any disappointment. So the "aw," and "this is the worst thing ever," and okay, you don't have to say it again. That one in particular. And if we can get to less than two or less of those per day, I will consider that a win. Is this achievable? Absolutely. Would you want to say 0? No. I mean, he's 9 after all. He's still learning and that frontal lobe hasn't developed. We want to set reasonable goals. Is this relevant? Absolutely. We like spending time together as a family. We want to enjoy time spent together, and it's very hard when there's such a focus on negativity whenever there's any sort of disappointing outcome. So it's very relevant to our goal of enjoying family time together and time bound. So this is not something that's going to take a whole year. I mean, a whole year, it will have gotten better on its own probably. What we really want to do is target this and say, okay, in the next 6 weeks, we would like to be down to twice a day. So we might be starting at something more like 6 times a day. And so we're going to be patient. We're going to get down to 6, and maybe it'll happen sooner, but I want to set a realistic goal that is time bound. So I'm going to say 6 weeks. Change takes time, and we need to support people through change. So that is a SMART goal for one member of the family. So far we've talked about more of a parent-led goal with the child who may later come on board with swimming, but at the beginning it's really the parents leading that goal. And we've talked about a family-motivated goal specific to one child in terms of managing negative outcomes. So let's do one more example that is going to be applied more to a family goal that's going to involve parental change. So I'm just telling you all my family goals for this year. So another personal goal that I have that may ring true for many working parents is managing your work-life balance better. And I find this to be especially challenging as a work from home parent. So I was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years, fully dedicated to raising my kids. And now I've been busy for the last few years building my online parent coaching business, which is very fulfilling, good in many ways, good for the parents to see me working, so many good things about it. But I have found that it's difficult to stay true to my intention of creating a job that would allow me to still be available for my children during the non-school hours. So I was at home until they were all in school, and my intention was to mainly just work while they're at school. Now, that's a challenge, and if you're working from home or you have any sort of job that carries over into the home hours, then you may understand where I'm coming from. So how are we going to make this a SMART goal? I'm going to be very specific. I'm going to say that I would like to work less when my children are at home. And specifically, I'm okay with working in the mornings. My kids are very independent, getting themselves ready for school, and they can manage that time of day successfully. And I'm okay working while they're at school, but I would like to be completely done working before I go to pick them up from school. So that's very specific, setting the hours that will be accessible. And I might add on there that I would generally like to not work on the weekends, but I'm willing to work up to 2 hours on Saturday. So very specific. measurable. So how am I going to measure that? This is a pretty easy one because it aligns with the clock. And so I'm going to set an alarm that goes off at the time that I need to wrap up work in order to depart for school, come back, and not have to do anything else that day. And on Saturday, I'm going to mark on my calendar a 2-hour block that is the mom's allowed to work block. And I may set when I sit down to do that work, I may set a timer as well so that I don't go beyond that 2 hours. Whatever doesn't get done then, doesn't get done. Achievable. Is this achievable? Yeah, I run my own business. I should be able to set my own hours. I just need to commit to sticking to them. Is this relevant? Absolutely. So I very much feel like raising kids is the most important thing that I will do in my life. I love helping other parents. There are many other ways that I've contributed to society, but truly raising my kids is my most important and valued job ever. So it's highly relevant to make sure that my new business isn't taking away from that primary goal for me of raising my family. And time bound. So this is an interesting one. So rather than saying I have, 6 weeks to get my child doing this, or we have 1 year to get them doing that, this one I'm going to plan ahead a little bit. I'm going to say, okay, well, I need to get X, Y, and Z off my plate before I can commit to this because I have some deadlines to meet, etc. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to start this new plan in 2 weeks. And essentially that day, when I say there will be no more work after the alarm goes off and I will only work for 2 hours on Saturday, that is the time-bound length of this goal. So I'll give myself the 2 weeks to cross a few things off the to-do list. And then when I get to there, I'll say, that's it. We're done. This is the time-bound goal is happening now. Okay, so you are now ready to start making your very own SMART goals and make sure those resolutions come to light this year so it is your best year yet. Now, if chores fall anywhere on your list of New Year's resolutions, I've got 2 great videos for you to choose from. One is on how to get your child to do chores without complaint, and the other is on strengthening marital and parent-child relationships through examining your family chore distribution. So choose which one's most relevant to you and keep up the good work on your amazing parenting journey.